very much buy your idea of calling Delhi as Indraprastha, because we have no issue in calling India as Bharat, which comes from the same period, so its capital can be called as Delhi as Indraprastha. One query to you. You very beautifully related Din Shakt with, you described it and related to Sanskrit also. There is another word in Sanskrit called Al, which is, Sanskrit being the creational language, so it is Al. And Al is, qualitative aspect is aluminium, which is harmful to health or all those ferment. Can you relate it to the concept of Al Surah, Allah, Al Qaeda, Al Jinn, etc., etc.?
In general, I'm definitely against positing such connections, but I don't even know the word Al, I must say. At any rate, I don't see any connections between Sanskrit and Arabic. Some people say, Brahma and Saraswati are the origin of Abraham and Sarah. Well, sorry, Abraham has a perfect Hebrew etymology, which is unrelated to the etymology of Brahma. Abraham means the father of many. Ab means father, Abba, And Brahma means growth. It's related to the German word Berg, mountain, big, high. And so the two are unrelated. So I don't know which word you mean, but at any rate, I don't see any connection, whatever it is. I don't see any connection with the Arab article al. And by the way, there are no articles in Sanskrit, whereas there are in Semitic. And so that again pleads against, not necessarily, but broadly pleads against the connection between the two. So all these fancy etymologies are not exactly covering Hindus with glory. The worst case, of course, is Pianok, who says that Vatican means Veda Vatica, and that Dutch, which is my mother tongue, is the language of the Daityas, and that England is Angulistan, and so on. This is, forget it.
Any other questions?
First of all, I agree with you that our ancestors were barbarians. You also accept that. There's nothing wrong in that. As you rightly said about your own ancestors. I have one issue with, maybe I have not understood properly, but you said that the caste system, Guna and Karma, which is hereditary, it has been attacked by the anti-Hindus, Ambedkarites and all. So I thought that you are in a way supporting the caste system. I am a student of evolutionary biology, and I think that caste, particularly based on hereditary, is a barrier to Guna and Karma. So to assume that in a particular caste, we can give this inheritance only by birth is against science.
Well, of course, I am not pleading the case of the caste system. I simply say you should be historical about it, recognize facts for what they are, and particularly the fact that conceptions, ideas in the past were not the same as today. And so the old conception of heredity was too stiff, compared to reality. We know that there is a lot of flexibility in heredity. We know, for example, to mention the caste system. Okay, for instance, Ambedkar was a great scholar. He was also very wrong in some respects. Like his view of Buddhism was totally rejected by the Buddhists themselves. They said he was completely misunderstood. But you see, that is something I also find in Brahmins. Some of them, there are very bright ones, like our laureate of today, But then there are also some very foolish ideas that are being propagated by Brahmins. So, well, like Naturam Godse was a Brahmin, for example. So there are all kinds of people there, among Dalits, among Brahmins, among, and that's normal. If you study genetics, there's a lot more ground for variety than was assumed in those days. So I have no problem with having now, informed by modern science, a different opinion than what the ancients had. But it remains a fact that the ancients had that opinion. Now, you make me think of a related but somewhat different topic, and that's in fact where I was going to with my talk on the Mahabharata, namely the whole idea of tradition. You see, that is really wrong among traditionalist Hindus. They assume that anything that they have learned from their parents has always been there. They are making the same mistake as the feminists who are getting worked up about, gender inequality in 2000 BC. Similarly, the traditionalists are assuming that whatever they learned in 1980 also applied in minus 1980. So that is simply not true. Like, for example, the idea that the Kali Yuga is 432,000 years is a recent idea. That's from maybe 500 AD, and not at all from the age of the Mahabharata. And so what they do all the time is to project back what they themselves had learned as traditional onto the ancient past. And so you see, that explains a lot in Hinduism, and a lot of its distortions also. So that's a form of tamas, or a tamasic tendency in the mind to discount the factor of change, of evolution, to freeze everything back into the past. What was now was already there 4,000 years ago. And so you see, that is an important tendency to combat. If you want to purify your sense of history, that is a very important place to start. Yes?
There is a deafening silence. There is a deafening silence among the pre-Islamic religion which existed in the Middle East, especially the Kaaba region, and the 365 idols were there in this is what, and much authentic information or material is not available here. So, as an historian, can you share some insights? What was there? Was there any link with the religion which was followed there with India at those times?
There we go again. According to Koenraad, Vikramaditya conquered Arabia and he built the Kaaba as a temple for Shiva. Now there is no trace of Vikramaditya in Arab history, which is quite opulent. And in the stories about Vikramaditya in India, there is again no trace of him going to Arabia. But as for the Shiva temple in Mecca, it's not entirely true, but there is a core of truth in it. Namely, in Egypt, in Arabia, they worship the moon god. And Shiva also is a male moon god. Shiva is depicted like this. It's called Chandradhar, the moon bearer. And you see the moon here. That's also why he's called the horn god. Because at this latitude, unlike in my country, you see the moon lying down. In my country you see the moon standing like this. And here you see the moon lying down. So it's compared to the horns of a bull. And so the horn god is then typically depicted with three goddesses, which are the three phases of the moon. You see the first appearing moon, the first crescent that you see in the flag of Pakistan. And then you have the full moon, and you have the last crescent moon. In the Vedas, you see these three are called, depicted as three goddesses: Gungu, Sinivali, and Raka. Okay? Now, this way you see the horn god, the moon god, has three goddesses, has three phases. Right? Now you find this theme of the horned god with his triple goddess everywhere. You know, in the Wicca movement, the neo-pagans in Europe, in America, you find this idea very centrally of, you know, the horned god and the triple goddess, which they worship sky-clad in a clearing in the forest on the full moon night. You know, it's all very romantic, but anyway, it is very similar to this worship of the moon god in Arabia as well as in India, where Shiva is effectively depicted with it, or you know, portrayed with a triple goddess. You know, you have this Parvati, Durga, and Kali. So in that sense, there is a similarity between the cult of Shiva in India and the cult of Hubal, that was his name, in Arabia. Hubal and his three daughters, as there it is said there, are perhaps known to you if you have read the Satanic Verses, the controversial novel by Salman Rushdie. You know, that's about the three goddesses. There is a moment in Muhammad's career where you see he's struggling to get recognition as a prophet, and the Arabs only laugh at him. And so he tries to win them over by making a concession. And so he says, well, you know, you should destroy all your idols, all your false gods, except these three goddesses that were very popular in Mecca. And so then his own converts say, but you know, we had to burn all our idols, and now you are saying that these three are okay. And then he realizes, you know, this is not, this, you know, it was a nice idea, but I can't keep this up. So then he says, you know, as a made-up explanation, yeah, but you see, these verses must have been whispered into my ear by the devil, not by Jibril, the archangel. Now, if they can be whispered in by the devil, what about any of the other verses? So these so-called satanic verses make the entire Quran very questionable. That is the orthodox reason why Salman Rushdie's novel was so evil. The more popular reason, incidentally, is that in the novel, in a brothel, in a prostitution house, the prostitutes try to make themselves more interesting to potential customers by taking on the names of the wives of Muhammad. Because in those days people lived in tents and so on, and everybody knew, sorry to mention this, but you know, the sort of sexual characteristics of different women. And so you see a woman who cried very loud or whatever, like Aisha was known to do, she would call herself Aisha, and so on. Now, that plot created by Salman Rushdie has translated in the Muslim street as he has depicted Muhammad's wives as prostitutes. And so the common version is that, you see, Salman Rushdie has to be killed because he has insulted the wives of the Prophet. Okay? But so the orthodox, the more theological reason is that, you see, he highlights these three goddesses and they are a danger to the belief in the revealed origin of the Quran. But so, at any rate, to answer your question, these three goddesses, these three moon goddesses, were worshipped together with the moon god in the Kaaba, as also, for instance, in the Somnath temple in Gujarat, which is why Muslim invaders took great military risks to go and destroy that particular temple. You see, they thought that after Muhammad had destroyed all the false gods of Arabia, that they had taken refuge in the Somnath temple. Why? Because that was a known place in Arabia, because Arab traders who went to India used to go to worship in the Somnath temple, just as Indian traders went to the Kaaba. So in that sense, you see, there was sufficient familiarity, similarity between the two to, become the core of truth in the story that the Kaaba was a Shiva temple.
Actually, I know there are a lot of questions, but we have time only till 8 o'clock, so we'll have to wrap up. Very sorry. This has been a very interesting interaction, but I think we'll have to wrap up now. Thank you.
I know many of you are disappointed that you didn't get a chance to interact. We're really sorry. We have time until 8 o'clock to wrap up. Now it was very good personally for me to see such a full house, and I'm really, really grateful to all of you for having come here and listened to Dr. Elst. I would request Mayuresh Vidorkar, the co-coordinator of Indian Book Club Pune, to give the vote of thanks.
I would like to start by thanking this great place, Bhandarkar Oriental Research Institute, and especially Dr. Kohlikar and Mr. Shenan Bapat for making this wonderful place with all these arrangements available to us at relatively a very short notice. So they knew about this program maybe only about 8 to 10 days in advance, but they were really, really cooperative about it. I would really like to thank them. A big vote of thanks to all of you who came here on a weekend evening to listen to Dr. Elst. Unfortunately, some of you had to remain standing and you still remained for this lecture. I am really thankful to you. Thanks a lot, Dr. Koenraad, for that wonderful discourse on the ancient history and modern politics. It was, for somebody like me, for example, I consider myself to be a rookie in Indian history. I think it was an absolute eye-opener to listen to Dr. Elst's talk. It was a very great pleasure of Indian Book Club to have Mr. Shrikanta Lege come all the way from Mumbai to be with us here today. And like our slogan says, we are truly grateful to our gurus. So thank you, sir. Thank you so much to my friends and colleagues, Mr. Shefali Vaidya, Mr. Shailendra Marathe, and my friend Ruti Shivtare. She is here somewhere. So she's actually not in part of Indian Book Club, but then she came and she managed the registration on her own. So thank you so much. We will be looking forward to arranging similar interactions in the future. Thank you so much. Good night.